Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of my YouTube channel. Today's video is all about anxiety. Now this video is being recorded the first week of May, and May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So I wanted to take a little bit of time and talk about anxiety, what it is, and most importantly, I came up with a little acronym of what we can do when anxiety shows up, how we can help ourselves work through or cope with our anxiety, whether we're in the heat of the moment or just on a day-to-day basis. So anxiety is really about a lack of control or fear. And there's really three types of anxiety. There's generalized anxiety or free-floating anxiety, panic disorder, or social anxiety. And I've actually done a video, did a long time ago, about 7 ways or 7 tips to cope. If you want to check that out, I'll put a link in the comment section. But today, like I said, I just want to talk about how anxiety now more than ever is, we've all experienced moments of anxiety. And I know with COVID, one of the many things that COVID has kind of brought out is, there's a lot of things that are out of our control. And that really amps up our anxiety, when there's these things, and when we focus or we pay a lot of attention to those things that are out of our control, we tend to, also be afraid, or we kind of ruminate or have these racing thoughts about these things that are way out here that are out of our control. So what can we do when we feel anxious, and what happens? How do we know we're feeling anxious? So a lot of times what people report is their heart rate starts beating, their stomach tightens, and we go into this fight or flight response. And in our fight or flight response, we lose peripheral vision. And when we get into this place of fight, flight, or freeze. And we have this response, and nowadays, we are also in this constant state of fight or flight. And really, this fight or flight response is important when we are in dangerous situations. A lot of people talk about the saber-toothed tiger coming out after us when we were in those like caveman days, and how it was really meant for survival. We don't necessarily want to lose that sense of survival skill. However, we also don't want to walk around in the state of being in a constant state of fight or flight, because what happens is it affects our digestion, it weakens our immune system, we lose concentration or our memory or the ability to focus, and we can't sleep, we feel more irritable. So these are kind of all the negative consequences of things that happen when we stay in an anxious state. So my acronym for anxiety, and I'll post this in the comment section also. So each letter stands for things that we can do when we feel anxious. And the first thing that I want to say before I get into the acronym is, remember guys, when I start to feel anxious, slow down, take a deep breath, and ask, what's in my control? So let's get into the acronym. So A is accept and stay active. And when I say accept, what I want you to think about is, in this moment, kind of looking at, okay, this is what's happening, what's truthful, what's going on, and accepting, okay, what's in my control, what's out of my control. That's when anxiety is really pumping up. Acceptance is saying, okay, right now, there's a lot going on, what's truthful and what is in my control, accepting what is, and staying active, which is a separate. Staying active is when we can walk, exercise, move our bodies. It helps us process anxiety, nervousness, fear, and worry, and we feel better. Anytime we can move our body, we feel better. Movement helps our mental health, just like connection helps our mental health. The N in anxiety is for nature. When we can be outside, getting some vitamin D, that sunshine that makes us feel better, when we can connect to nature, just being outside helps us feel better. So whether we're in an anxious state, when we can go outside and get some sunshine, or maybe go for a walk, or just breathe in some fresh air, it helps us naturally start to feel better. The X in anxiety is extra sleep. When we feel anxious, we're not sleeping, because what are we doing in the middle of the night? we're going over all the things. We're having those racing or ruminating thoughts, which I've also done another YouTube video on, and I'll post that too. But extra sleep is really, how am I getting into a state of resting my body? And there's a lot of studies on the importance of creating a sleep hygiene routine or a sleep routine. So really, an hour before you go to bed, what are some ways that you're starting to slow down? Turning off electronics, reading, dimming the lights around your house, listening to peaceful music, drinking some sleepy time tea. Being able to put yourself in a sleep routine actually starts to help you feel a little bit better and get some good sleep. And if anything, it helps you rest, and that's really important, especially nowadays. We're really busy. So being able to slow down and rest our body helps us cope with anxiety. The I in anxiety stands for kindness. How can we be kind to ourselves? Typically, when we're in that fear state or worry state, we're also in that place of self-doubt. We're beating ourselves up, or we're kind of negatively thinking. So remember, as I slow things down, I want to be kind to myself and also be kind to others. When we're anxious, as I said earlier, we can also be more irritable. So remember kindness, all right? And that's really important too. The E in anxiety is be present. And when we're anxious, we tend to think about outcomes or things out here that are out of our control. So when I can slow things down and be present, it helps me stay focused on the here and now and what's in my control instead of all these things that are out of my control. So be present, be in the moment, be in the here and now, and take a deep breath. I think that's really important. When we can be present, when we can be in the here and now, we can also take deep breaths, which helps our whole body from a physiological standpoint calm down. The T is positive thoughts for the day or for the moment. And also asking is what's truthful. A lot of times with anxiety and worry and fear and what's out of our control, we tend to think about those things. We start to make assumptions, or we create stories about the thing that we're anxious about. So being able to say what's truthful, accepting what's right in front of you, just asking like, okay, what's going on? What do I need to know? What do I know to be factual, instead of what are these things that I'm maybe making up or that I'm making an assumption about? And then positive thoughts. Instead of that negative thinking or that, all the bad things that are going to happen, or the worst case scenario is, what's a positive thought? What's in my control? Remembering to take a deep breath or be present. That helps slow things down, and that gives you the ability to problem solve as opposed to negative thinking. So the Y stands for believing in yourself. And this is important, especially when we're feeling anxious, because we tend to tell ourselves the negative story, just like I was talking about T, negative thoughts. When we can believe in ourselves and remember that we have made it through really difficult moments to date, that we are strong, we are amazing, and we are enough. When we believe in ourselves, it also helps us with fear, with that anxiety, and that worry. So, that's the acronym for the anxiety, and those are some tips on how to cope or deal with anxiety when it presents itself. I know that at times anxiety can seem overwhelming, and it literally does take your breath away sometimes. Remember, guys, anxiety might seem like it lasts a lifetime when you have that like anxious, kind of panic that comes up. Remember, it's moments in time, and it doesn't last forever. And if we can do some of these strategies or techniques that help, they do help you cope with your anxiety. Now, if you're noticing that it's continuing to be overwhelming, or it's really impacting your day-to-day functioning, then I would absolutely encourage you to go meet with a therapist to talk about some more specific strategies. So, those are just some quick tips on how to cope with anxiety. I thank you for watching my video today. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for weekly updates all about relationships and mental health. And don't forget, guys, not only for the month of May, but every day is a good day to take care of your mental health. Have a great day.